Under the electric shimmer of Tokyo's lively streets, where the night buzzes with energy, lurk tales that'll send chills down your spine. Oi, you curious lot. Uni students, freelancers, artists, and culture vultures aged 18 to 35, especially those mad for Japan's vibrant vibe. Today, we're plunging into the shadowy side of this buzzing city, where creepy events, rooted in real stories, unfold. Imagine checking into a well-known hotel in Tokyo, its name kicking off with a cryptic T. Locals murmur about it. Guests leave with haunting memories. What happened? Let's just say, after hearing this, you might rethink staying alone in a hotel room. From the odd whiff of incense to shadowy figures that defy logic, we're about to unravel experiences that'll get your heart pounding. For you musicians, art lovers, and travel nuts drawn to Japan's mystique, these stories aren't just spooky, they're a warning. In Japan, your gut might be your only mate. Buckle up, because we're stepping into a world where reality and nightmares blur. Let's crack on. Of the first tale, The Haunted Hotel. In the heart of Tokyo, where neon signs flicker and the city pulses with restless energy, Hiroshi, a musician scraping by on small gigs, stepped into a night that would haunt him forever. At 29, Hiroshi wasn't a big name, not even close. He was the sort of artist you might half recognize from a late-night telly show or a warm-up set at a dodgy izakaya. With his messy hair and a voice more grit than gloss, he'd been chasing a breakthrough for years. Tokyo was his regular spot, a city he loved for its lively chaos and endless ramen stalls. Every time work brought him here, he booked the same hotel, a no-fuss place starting with the letter T. It wasn't posh, just practical, near his favourite konbini and a short walk from the venues where he strummed his guitar for modest crowds. For Hiroshi, it was routine, a second home. But in the autumn of 2019, routine turned into something far darker. Hiroshi rolled into Tokyo on a chilly evening, his guitar case slung over one shoulder, expecting his usual stay. He hadn't bothered booking ahead, never needed to before. The hotel always had a room for him, a perk of being a regular. But when he strolled up to the front desk, the clerk, a young woman with a polite smile, hit him with a blow. "I'm sorry, sir. We're fully booked." Hiroshi's temper flared. He wasn't a prima donna, but the long train ride and a rumbling stomach had worn him thin. "Fully booked?" he snapped, leaning over the counter. "I'm practically a VIP here. I stay at this place every time I'm in Tokyo. You've got to have something. Any room, I don't care." His voice had that edge of entitlement he wasn't proud of, but he was knackered, and the idea of hunting for another hotel at this hour felt grim. The staff, trained in the art of Japanese hospitality, didn't bat an eyelid. Customer service in Japan is a serious business. Make the guest happy, no matter how stroppy. The clerk swapped glances with a colleague, their eyes darting to the computer screen. Hiroshi stood there, arms crossed, foot tapping like a drumbeat. After a tense few minutes of hushed whispers and clicking keyboards, the clerk looked up, her smile steady. "Sir, we've sorted it. We've found you a room." Hiroshi grabbed the key card, muttered something ungrateful under his breath, and headed for the lift. He didn't clock the staff's wary glances or the way their smiles wavered as he walked away. The room was on the 5th floor, tucked at the end of a quiet corridor. It was smaller than his usual spot, cramped with a single bed, a narrow desk, and a window overlooking a gloomy alley. Hiroshi tossed his bag onto the floor and froze. A strange smell hit him, sharp and lingering, not like the usual sterile hotel scent. It was incense, heavy and smoky, the kind you'd find at a temple or a memorial. He wrinkled his nose. Odd, he muttered, brushing it off. He'd told them any room would do, and they'd delivered. Besides, he wasn't here to chill. He had rehearsals, a gig, and a night of pints with mates lined up. The smell was weird, sure, but not worth kicking up a fuss. Hiroshi dropped his gear, splashed water on his face, and headed out. The hotel's cracking location was why he kept coming back. Just a few minutes' walk, and he was in the heart of Tokyo's nightlife. Neon signs blazing, izakayas spilling laughter, and arcades flashing their hypnotic lights. He met up with a couple of old bandmates at a packed yakitori stand where skewers sizzled and beers flowed. They swapped stories, laughed too loud, and lost track of time. By 2 a.m., Hiroshi was merry, stuffed, and ready to crash. He waved off his mates, slung his jacket over his shoulder, and wandered back to the hotel, the city's buzz fading behind him. Back in his room, Hiroshi didn't bother with a shower. He kicked off his trainers, tossed his jacket onto a chair, and flopped onto the bed. The mattress creaked under him, and his head spun lightly from the beer. He was just drifting off when a sharp knock jolted him upright. "What the bloody hell?" he groaned, rubbing his eyes. He stumbled to the door and peered through the peephole. A man stood outside, dressed in a hotel uniform, green collar, pressed to a fault, hands clasped politely. Hiroshi blinked, confused. Why would staff be knocking at this hour? His mind raced. Credit card trouble? A forgotten form? Or hell, maybe a fan. It wouldn't be the first time someone clocked him from a gig and wanted a selfie. Before he could decide, the man spoke, his voice calm but oddly formal. "Excuse me, sir. I'm sorry for the disturbance. The front desk sent me. May I come in?" Hiroshi's gut twisted. Something felt off, but he couldn't pin it down. He cracked the door open, still half asleep. The man bowed slightly, his face blank. "I'm very sorry, sir, but the previous guest left something important behind. May I take a quick look?" Hiroshi hesitated. It was 2 a.m., no call from the desk, no heads up. But the bloke looked proper, uniform crisp, demeanor polite. "Make it quick," Hiroshi muttered, stepping aside. "I need to kip." The man didn't hang about. He moved with purpose, checking drawers, peering behind curtains, even crawling halfway under the bed. Hiroshi watched, arms crossed, irritation growing. The bloke was thorough, too thorough for some lost trinket. After a few minutes, he stood, bowed deeply, and apologized again. "Thank you, sir. I'm sorry for the bother." Then he was gone. Hiroshi locked the door, shaking his head. "What the hell was that?" he muttered, flopping back onto the bed. The incense smell seemed stronger now, clinging to the air like a warning. He pushed it out of his mind and tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come easy. Barely an hour later, another knock yanked him from a restless doze. "You've got to be joking," he growled, stomping to the door. Through the peephole, there he was again. The same bloke, same green-collared uniform, same stiff posture. "Sir, I apologize," the man said, voice unchanged. "May I come in to look for something the last guest left behind?" Hiroshi's patience snapped. He flung the door open, ready to give the bloke a piece of his mind, but before he could speak, the man brushed past him, repeating the same frantic search. Drawers, curtains, under the bed. Hiroshi stood there, fuming, as the bloke bowed again, apologized, and left without a word of explanation. Now Hiroshi was livid. This wasn't just shoddy service. It felt like a wind-up. He grabbed the room phone and dialed the front desk, his voice sharp. "Get someone up here now. I'm done with these games." Within minutes, 3 staff members arrived, all bowing deeply as Hiroshi stepped into the corridor, his fists clenched. "What kind of place are you running?" he barked. "One of your lot has barged into my room twice tonight, looking for some lost item from a previous guest." He didn't even wait for me to say yes the second time, just stormed in. "Where's your manners?" The staff froze, their faces paling. A younger bloke, barely out of his teens, spoke up hesitantly. "Sir, could you describe his uniform? The collar? What color was it?" Hiroshi blinked, thrown by the question. "Green. It was green." The staff swapped uneasy glances. The young bloke pointed to his own collar, red like the others. "Sir," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "we haven't used green uniforms in over a year. They were updated last spring. No one here wears green anymore." Hiroshi's stomach dropped. "So what? You're saying some random geezer off the street walked into my room twice, pretending to be staff? Your security's a shambles then." The staff didn't respond. They stood there, eyes darting, as if scared to speak. Finally, the young bloke broke the silence, his voice low. "Sir, there was an incident in this room a few years ago. A guest claimed they lost something valuable. It became a big deal. Security got involved, and the blame fell on a young staff member. It was his first job. The manager humiliated him in front of everyone, staff, guests, the lot. That night, he came back to this room and hanged himself." Hiroshi felt the air leave his lungs, the incense smell, the locked-off room, the green uniform. It clicked. "Since then," the staff member continued, "guests have reported seeing someone like you described. Always polite, always searching, always on the anniversary of his death, which is today." Hiroshi's eyes widened. "Wait, today? You mean monks were here this morning, doing some kind of ritual?" The staff nodded, avoiding his gaze. "We don't usually rent this room out. It's kept empty for a reason." Hiroshi didn't wait for more. He grabbed his bag, his guitar, everything he could carry, and stormed out of the room. He didn't check out, didn't ask for a refund. He just left, the incense smell trailing him like a ghost. No proximity to izakayas or venues was worth another second in that room. For you lot, students, artists, dreamers drawn to Japan's allure, here's the lesson. When a hotel says they're full, don't push it. That last room they find for you, it might be empty for a reason, and no amount of convenience is worth waking up to a knock that shouldn't be there. The second tale, The Rent-a-Boyfriend. In the electric hum of Tokyo, where dreams clash with reality under a blaze of neon, Kenji, a 19-year-old uni student, was scraping by in a city that felt both thrilling and brutal. Fresh from a quiet village, he'd come to Tokyo for uni, carrying little more than ambition and a bag of second-hand clothes. His family wasn't flush. Every month, they sent just enough cash to cover rent, instant noodles, and the odd textbook. But there was never a yen left for fun. No late-night gigs, no splashing out on the trendy trainers he eyed in shop windows. Kenji wasn't starving, but he was hungry for more than just food. He loved fashion, the kind of sharp, curated style he saw on Tokyo's streets. but his budget kept him stuck in worn tees and faded jeans. For a young lad trying to find his place in a city that sparkled, it stung. One muggy evening over cheap konbini bentos, a mate from his dorm noticed Kenji's frustration. "Mate, why not get a part-time gig?" the friend said, half laughing. "You're always banging on about cash." Kenji sighed. He'd thought about it, but uni was tough enough. Lectures, essays, and the constant pressure to keep up. A job felt like a ball and chain. Still, the idea lingered, nagging at him. The thought of affording a decent jacket or a night out with mates was tempting, like a tune he couldn't shake. "What kind of gig, though?" he asked, dubious. "Something flexible, yeah? I can't be stuck flipping burgers while I'm trying to study." His mate leaned in, voice low like he was spilling a secret. "There's this app. Bit odd, but hear me out. You rent yourself out as a boyfriend. For a day. Older women mostly. They pay to have a young lad like you keep them company. Dinner, shopping, maybe a walk. Decent money, and it's not what you think. No dodgy stuff." Kenji's eyebrows shot up. Rent a boyfriend? It sounded mad, like something out of a quirky film. But his mate was serious. "You just chat. Smile. Be polite. Sometimes it's just a meal. Nothing heavy. You're a decent-looking lad, Kenji. You'd make a mint." That night, back in his pokey dorm room, Kenji couldn't stop thinking about it, renting himself out for company. It felt weird, but not risky. He was quiet, polite, and had a knack for dressing well on a budget, sharp features, a clean haircut, and a vibe that put people at ease. Maybe this could work. Curiosity got the better of him, and he grabbed his phone, diving into forums and message boards where blokes shared their experiences on the app. The stories hooked him. One lad got 30,000 yen for a shoulder massage, nothing more. Another earned 12,000 yen for a free dinner and a chat. Then he saw a post that stopped him cold. A woman offered 45,000 yen for 2 hours of conversation, plus letting the bloke pick out anything he wanted to buy, no strings attached. For a skint student, it was a goldmine. No grueling shifts, no contracts, just time and charm. The more he read, the more it felt like a no-brainer. By midnight, Kenji was sold. What's the worst that could happen, he thought, signing up on the app. He uploaded a photo, him in a crisp shirt, smiling softly against a city backdrop, and filled out a profile touting his manners and love for fashion. Within days, bookings trickled in. A coffee date here, a shopping trip there, 7,000 yen, 11,000 yen. It added up fast. Kenji found his groove, charming clients with easy banter and a cheeky grin. The work was effortless, the money steady. For the first time since moving to Tokyo, he felt alive. Eating better, dressing sharper, even stashing some cash for a rainy day. He started getting choosy, only taking higher-paying gigs as his ratings climbed. This wasn't just a side hustle, it was a lifeline. Then came the message that changed everything. It was late, the glow of his phone cutting through the dark of his dorm. A woman, claiming to be nearing 60, sent a direct offer. "I'd love to book you for 3 hours. Come to my house, cook a meal, and after we eat, we'll take a nap together. Nothing sexual. I'll pay $225,000 yen." Kenji's jaw dropped. 225,000 yen for 3 hours? It was more than he'd earned in a month of bookings. His fingers hovered over the reply button. The nap together bit was odd, but she'd said no funny business, and the money was unreal. He typed back, "Are you in Tokyo?" Her reply came quick. "Yes." But as they chatted, she clarified. Her place was 2 hours out in the countryside. A trek, sure, but for that cash, Kenji could swing a train ticket and still come out ahead. Then things got weirder. Instead of a Google Maps pin or an address, she sent a photo, a hand-drawn map sketched in pencil on lined paper. Arrows pointed to landmarks. Turn left at the stone lantern, right at the old pine, and a note. If you reach the rice field, you've gone too far. Kenji stared at it, frowning. Who draws maps by hand in 2019? Maybe she was old school, not tech-savvy. The money kept him focused, but a tiny knot of unease tightened in his gut. He brushed it off. Just a quirky old lady, he told himself, packing a small bag for the trip. The next morning, Kenji boarded a train to a rural station far from Tokyo's neon jungle. The city's buzz faded, replaced by endless fields and quiet lanes. When he stepped off the platform, the air was still, the station deserted. He pulled up the map on his phone and started walking, following the scribbled directions. At first, it felt almost charming, like a treasure hunt, but the charm wore off fast. The lanes stretched on, narrow and silent, flanked by empty land and gnarled trees. No shops, no people, just him and the map. Where the hell is this place? He muttered, his trainers kicking up dust. The walk dragged, each step heavier than the last. Just as doubt crept in, he spotted the final landmark, a crooked wooden sign, faded letters barely legible, exactly as drawn. Beyond it, behind tall stone walls draped in ivy, stood a mansion. Not a house, a proper, sprawling estate, hidden in the middle of nowhere. Kenji stopped, stunned. This wasn't what he'd pictured. He approached the iron gate, heart thumping. He pressed the buzzer, and a woman's voice crackled through the intercom, calm and soft. "Hello?" "Hi, I'm Kenji," he said, trying to sound confident. A pause, then, "Oh, you're finally here. I've been waiting all day." Her tone was warm, but something about it prickled his skin. Before he could respond, she added, "Push the gate. It's not locked." He hesitated, then gave it a nudge. The gate creaked open, and he stepped into a courtyard that felt too still, like the air itself was holding its breath. The front door swung open before he could knock. There she was, a woman, elegant and poised, dressed in a tailored blouse and skirt. She'd said she was nearing 60, but she didn't look a day over 45, her skin smooth, her posture graceful. "Welcome," she said, stepping aside with a smile. "Come in." Kenji followed, his unease growing. The house was stunning, spacious, pristine, like something out of a film. To his left, a guest room glowed with sunlight filtering through wooden blinds. To the right, a vast reception room stretched out, its minimalism almost museum-like. The silence was deafening, broken only by their footsteps. "Your home's cracking," Kenji said, glancing around. "Do you live here alone?" She nodded, her smile soft. "I do." As they walked toward the kitchen, Kenji's curiosity tugged him toward an open doorway. He slowed, peering inside. It was a prayer room, dimly lit, with a polished wooden altar at its center. A large Buddha statue sat serenely, framed by golden ornaments and an incense holder, its sticks long burned out. It was beautiful, almost otherworldly. Then his eyes caught something else, a framed photo beneath the Buddha. His breath hitched. The face staring back looked eerily like his own. Same dark hair, same jawline, same tilt of the head. His heart skipped. Is that me? He thought, panic flickering. No, it couldn't be. Just someone who looked similar, right? He forced a smile as the woman glanced at him. Take a seat, she said cheerfully. I'll grab the groceries. Kenji sank onto a plush sofa, his mind racing. The photo gnawed at him, but he couldn't let on. The woman returned with 2 bags of groceries, setting them on the kitchen counter. Let's start, she said, her voice light. Kenji nodded, shaking off the dread. He had a job to do: cook, eat, get paid, get out. He moved to the kitchen, chopping veg and boiling water, trying to focus. But he could feel her eyes on him. She sat on the sofa, hands folded, watching silently, not speaking, just staring. Her gaze was heavy, like a weight pressing into his back. He flashed a polite smile, but she didn't return it, her expression blank, unreadable. The kitchen filled with the sizzle of stir-fry, but Kenji's thoughts kept drifting to that photo. It was too close, too uncanny. He plated the food, hands trembling slightly, and carried it to the dining table. She sat across from him, still smiling, still silent. The tension was unbearable. Finally, he couldn't hold it in. Sorry, Mum, he said, voice steady despite his nerves. I didn't mean to snoop, but I saw a photo on your altar. It looked a lot like me. Is that someone you know? Her smile softened, turning distant. That's my son, she said, her tone calm. He was about your age when he passed away. An illness. I miss him terribly. She paused, her eyes locking onto his. When I saw your profile on the app, it felt like seeing him again. That's why I booked you. To share a meal, to rest together, to feel like he's here, just for a little while. Kenji's chest tightened. Guilt washed over him. Maybe he'd misjudged her. A grieving mum, clinging to a memory. It was sad, even understandable, but something didn't sit right. Her voice was too steady, her smile too polished. It wasn't warm, it was fractured, like a mask. I'm sorry, he said, forcing sympathy. She nodded, standing. I'll do the dishes, you relax. As she moved to the kitchen, Kenji pulled out his phone, heart pounding. He'd heard of a website, a public database listing homes in Japan where deaths had occurred. Fingers shaking, he typed in the address from the map. The screen loaded, and his blood ran cold. There it was. This house. Cause of death. Mother with psychological history murdered son with a kitchen knife. Deemed unfit to stand trial. Still residing at the property. The room spun. The hand-drawn map, the missing address, her calm demeanour. It all made sense. She hadn't wanted him to look up the house. Kenji's heart hammered as he stood, legs unsteady. He didn't say a word, just grabbed his bag and walked, past the altar, through the silent hallway, out the heavy gate. The long, empty lane stretched before him, but he didn't care about the money or the train fare back. He just kept moving, vowing never to touch that app again. For you lot, students, artists, dreamers chasing Japan's magic, trust your gut. When it screams to run, don't look back. As the neon glow of Tokyo fades from these chilling tales, one truth lingers like the scent of incense in a forgotten room. Trust your gut. Hiroshi's late-night run-in with a ghostly figure in a hotel room that should have stayed empty teaches us to heed warnings, even when they're whispered politely by staff. When a hotel says it's full, don't push. Some doors are locked for a reason. And Kenji's brush with danger, lured to a remote mansion by the promise of easy cash, screams a louder lesson. If something feels off, it probably is. In Japan, where courtesy masks mystery and tradition hides shadows, your instincts are your guide. Ignore them, and you might face more than a bad night's kip. These stories, rooted in real events, aren't just for thrills. They're reminders to stay sharp, whether you're chasing gigs, studying abroad, or exploring Japan's vibrant culture. So, you lot, uni students, artists, travel buffs, have you ever felt that prickle of unease on your travels? Drop your stories in the comments. We'd love to hear them. If these tales gave you goosebumps, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more spooky dives into Japan's darker corners. Stay curious, stay cautious, and we'll see you in the next video.